As you know, there is one case in Western Australia, Perth lockdown, happens to not at all coincide with the writs being issued for the election. And in Victoria, there is one case where, some masks inside, but essentially it's business as normal. Let's be proportional here. But of course, as I said at the start of the show, there's kind of scripts being followed here, and the closer you are to an election, you follow one script versus the proportional script when you are nowhere near an election. But of course, it's WA strong, and this is what epidemiologists are saying today about why the overreaction is the right reaction.
I think that you've dodged a bullet. I think Western Australia responded extremely well. I would totally support the lockdown. The reason is that the UK variant has devastated the UK. One of my best friends in the UK just recently got out of the ICU after nearly dying. The hospitals there are overwhelmed. It's a terrible situation, and it's very difficult to stop once the UK variant takes hold. So we've got to do everything we can to keep it out of Australia.
Sam, you would agree that the script is being followed to a T by your mate in Perth?
Look, I don't know about that. Everyone said the same thing about Annastacia in Queensland just before her election. But I think that behaviour has carried on well and truly past her election. I mean, don't get me wrong, I agree with the approach we've taken here in New South Wales, where we can lock down suburbs, we can live with a certain small number in society, in the community, and we can go about our lives. You know, we can go to work, we can get on public transport.
So you agree with me that McGowan's doing the wrong thing?
I do think it's an overreaction, yeah, I do.
Hallelujah, baby. Hallelujah. No further sentence, completely agree. No. We move on.
I do.
Now, whether or not
where's
the
Nick
tennis...
Rees when we need him?
Yeah, whether the tennis should be... I know, he was ready for Tuesday, he was limping up, ready to rip. All right,
Bring Nick Rees on.
Someone put a mask over him.
Here's what people were saying on the streets of Melbourne when asked today about whether the tennis should be taking place or not. In fact, this is part of that today. No? Okay. We're only talking about the issue, but okay. So let's talk here, Barnaby, about the proportionate versus disproportionate response. What did you think?
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking that if you want to pay for the outcome of this, if you want to stop reaching to the federal government to pay for job seeker, job keeper, you just pay for it yourself, and you can then go back and tax your own people yourself to pay for the consequences. We've seen this now, Paul, in Queensland, where, Annastacia, Xi Annastacia, she's gone out there, she's closed the borders, oh, how strong she is. And now she's saying, oh, my economy, my tourism industry is collapsing around my ears. I need more money. Well, Annastacia, you did it to yourself. So how about you pay for it out of your pocket? Because we can't have an economy that works like this. We are heading towards $1.7 trillion in gross debt. This is the most important issue, not climate change. I'm sorry, isn't that outrageous? Not climate change. Probably China, number one issue, then your debt, and then bound down. Worry about climate change then. But by God, if you don't have that debt under control, then your children are not going to get the health services, they're not going to get the education, they're not going to get the social security, they won't get the pension that you got because you blew the cash. So how do you not do that? Get your economy working by stopping this BS closure of states on political parochial whims.
Yeah, I mean, it's this thing where, again, Gary, we've seen the garbage you went through in and around Christmas, right, or just a bit after, right, you had to wear a mask in your own car because of, a couple of cases. Yeah. And again, I've got to say, I'll give it to Daniel Andrews as hard as anyone else, right, but he's doing this right. I think that calm down while doing live press conferences at 10:30 is a little bit much, but he's shown a level of proportionality that I'm surprised he's showing, but at least he's showing it.
Yeah, well, look, it's like a rabid dog who suddenly decides to go to sleep. But look, Paul, he did the press conference at 10:30 last night to give information to all the morning radios. He could have actually, done it another way, but that's what he was all about. It was all, obviously your program ran it live, but he was also able to get the information out onto 3AW in the morning or whatever. But look, Paul, the Barnaby's right. The states are running out of other people's money. The states are quite happy. The states like Queensland and indeed Western Australia are just so practised at the idea of shutting down economies and sending the bill to the Australian taxpayer in general. And they're having a terrific time at our expense. But the reality also missing is the economy's got to get bigger. We've actually got to grow the economy. We need the big vision thing. We need to actually have state governments saying to the feds, get rid of the EPBC, the Water Act, all these things that are stopping the things that we can do in our country, the growth that we could bring. If we could actually make this economy bigger, then the net debt, the gross debt and the net debt will look smaller as a proportion. But we've got to grow the economy, and by constantly stifling the entrepreneurial class, by constantly having rules and more rules, forms and fees, constantly having legislation, and frankly going off to see President Biden to talk about climate. I mean, that is not Australia's agenda. Barnaby's right. No. We've got to start to grow this economy to stare down the real threat in our region, which is China, and the real threat to our children's future and our grandchildren's future, which is our debt. Grow the economy. We need a bigger Australia, bigger Australian economy.